Okay, so let's run through this problem. This is from section 5.4. Oop, I'm in blue pen. Let me put it in black. Okay. Now, it's a maximization, so it's kind of like a standard simplex at the moment. But what we should notice here is we do have a less than, so that's okay, but we have a greater than and a greater than. So therefore, when we create step one, what we're going to do is take our maximization and solve so it's equal to 0, but the p variable is staying positive. So that's negative 10x minus 20y minus 15z plus p equals 0. So that was done just by subtracting all these variables over, all those terms over. Now, let me make this a little bigger. So now, for each of these equations, for our constraints, these are going to need slack variables. So for the first one, I'm going to be adding, and the reason why is because if this stuff over here is less than or equal to 60, then I need to add in a variable. I can't use p. I need to add in a variable to make it equal to. So then we're going to use the same logic. I've got 2y's minus z. Now, if this stuff is greater than 15, I'm going to need to subtract to bring it down. So that way it's equal to. And for my third equation here, we've got 2x minus y plus z, once again, greater than, so we need to subtract. QR, I don't want to use s because it looks like 5s. I'll use a t, equals 30. All right, so now we're ready. Uh-oh. Excuse me. Let me get back to our page. There's something in here that does that. I don't know what. There we go. All right. So here we go. We're going to pop these equations into our matrix. So our matrix will have the variables of x, y, z, q, r, t, p, equal sign. Okay. So our first, and remember the objective equation always goes to the bottom row, so the equation up here is the bottom row. So we're going to do the other ones first. So the first equation would be 1, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 60. Then we're going to have 0, 2, negative 1, negative, try again. There's no q's. Negative 1, 0, 0, 15. Third equation would be 2, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, negative 1, 0, 30. Okay, and then our bottom row is our objective, negative 10, negative 20, negative 15, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. All right, so now we've got our matrix set up. We're ready to start the process. So now the first thing we're going to do, how we check, is we need to say, are we even in our shaded region? And I can tell you right now we're not because of the greater than symbols, but I'm going to pretend like we didn't know that. So here we go. Read your answer like it was a 5.3 problem, like it's a standard simplex, and see what you'd get. Well, since we have lots of values in this column, x equals 0. Lots of values in this column, y equals, 0, z equals 0. Okay, so now here you see we have a single value with lots of zeros, so I read across. Q equals 60. That's not a problem because it's a number greater than 0. That's fine. Here we go. R is negative 15. That's a problem right there because we don't want R equaling negative 15. None of our variables are allowed to be negatives, so therefore we star that row. And then similarly for here, you can see this is going to give us t equals negative 30. So these are our two starred rows. So now, we don't need these anymore. Get rid of these. So now that we have our starred rows, the next step in our process is saying, excuse me, yeah, I can pick either starred row. It's up to me. It doesn't matter which one I pick. Pick either starred row and look for the largest positive value. So I'm just going to use the middle row since it's higher up. I don't know. And the largest positive value is 2. Now I'm going to do my ratio test just like I did in 5.3 to find which one has the earliest y-intercept. And it still has to be positive. It still has to be a positive value. So checking for the y-intercept here, you can see 60 divided by 2 is 30, or 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So which is the y-intercept you'd run into first if you're traveling from 0, 0? 7.5. So therefore, I'm going to pivot there. I don't even need to check this one because it's 30 divided by -1, which means it has a y-intercept of -30. So regardless if that number was bigger or smaller, it doesn't matter because it's negative. And that would not be in our feasible region because the definition, the theory from all these problems says that we have to have all of our variables greater than or equal to 0. So there we go. There's our pivot. So now let's do our row operators. I'm going to need a negative row 2 plus row 1 to make that into a 0. And then here I'm going to need row 2 plus 2 row 3s. And then for the next row, for the bottom row, I'm going to need 10 row 2s plus row 4. Do note, make sure you notice, the pivot row is row 2. Every single operator has to use row 2. And then just for me to keep it so that these numbers always stay positive, I always make the pivot row the one that turns negative. I never subtract my rows. So you'll notice I always write my row 2 first, and if I need to make something negative, I always make that first number negative. You don't have to do it that way. It just simplifies the process a little bit. Okay, so now here we go. Let's do our row operators. X, Y, Z, Q, R, T, P, equal sign. Okay. First row, oh, the second row is going to stay the same, so I'm just going to copy that down. There we go. All right, now the first row, when I'm just doing row 1 minus row 2, so that's 1, 0, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0. Row 2, 60 minus 15, that's 50, 45. There we go. All right, now for this next one here, I need row 2 plus 2 row 3s. So 2 of these plus that. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 0, 1, 0, -1, -2, 0, 60, 75. Okay, now for the bottom row. 10 of this plus that. So 10 times 0, 0, plus that, -10. 20, 0. 10 of those, that's -10 plus -15, that makes -25. 0, -10, 0, 1, 150. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let's see how skillfully I can do this. I'm going to try and scoot this down to give myself a tiny bit more room. Now that I've got all that copied down. Oh, lost this guy. All right, well, that's okay. We can just, there we go. All right. So now, rinse and repeat. You do the whole process over again. You say to yourself, okay, first check your answers, see what each of the variables are, make sure that they're all positive. So this row, x equals 0, because there's lots of numbers. Y equals, all right, y has a value. So when I read across, it's going to be 15 divided by 2. So I really don't care what that number is. All I care about is that it's positive. Z is still 0. Q is 45. R is now 0. And T, oop, there we go. T is a negative number. Star that row. All right, so here we go through the process again. Look for the largest positive number in this row. That would be 4. So we're going to pivot in the X column. And now look for the smallest ratio. 45 divided by 1 is 45. 15 divided by 0 is undefined. 75 divided by 4, well, it's less than 45. So this is going to be our smallest ratio. So our pivot's right there. Okay, so now keep doing that. All right, so now let's go ahead and do our operators. I'm going to need negative row 3 plus 4 row 1s. Nothing needs to happen on row 2. Nothing happens on row 3. So now for this one, the smallest number they both go into is 20. So I'm going to need 5 row 3s and, 2 row 4s. Yep, perfect. And do the process over again. So x, y, z, q, r, t, p equal sign. So I'm going to write down my second and third row, just copy them in because they're not changing. And just in case you didn't know why, the second row is not changing because it already has a 0 in the column we're pivoting. So we don't need to get a 0 there. Okay, so now we'll fill in row 1 first. So it's 4 row 1s minus this, so that would make 0. 4 of those minus that makes 0. 4 of those minus that makes 7. 4 of those minus that makes 4. 4 of those minus that makes 5. 4 of those minus that makes 2. 0. Here's where I should have brought my calculator. So let's grab a calculator really fast. What were we doing here? I lost my spot. Oh, 4 times 45. Minus 75. There we go. 105. Okay. So right here, we'll go 105. Okay, so now for our bottom row, let me hide my calculator. All right, so now for the bottom row, what were we doing? 5 of those minus or plus 2 of those. So 5 times 4 is 20, minus 20 is 0. 0. 5. All right, well, 2 times negative 25 is negative 50. Negative 50 plus 5, that makes negative 45. 0. 5 row 3s. 2 row 4s, so that's negative 5, negative 20, add them together, that makes negative 25. 5 row 3s, that's negative 10. And 2 row 4s, excuse me, there we go. Okay, we have plenty of time. Alright, so then this last number here would be 2, and here comes the calculator again. Alright, so we need, what do we need? 5 row 3s, so that's 5. I don't know why it does that. Let's try that again. Okay. One more attempt at that. Okay, so now we need... Oh, I wonder if I'm getting... Oh, my wrist. That's why. My wrist is touching the bottom of the screen. That's why random things are opening. Okay. So 5 row 3s. 5 times 75 plus 2 row 4, so that's 2 times 150. There we go. And this thing should go away. There we go. Okay, so that gives us 675. Sorry about all that interesting stuff popping up on the screen, but there we go. All right, so now, got that matrix done. Now let's check again. So x equals, that actually has a value now, but it's positive. All we really care about is positive or negative. Y has a value. It is positive. Z is 0. Q is a positive value. R is 0. T is 0. P is positive. Yay! Okay, no negative numbers. So that means we are done with all the 5.4 stuff. So now we're just in a standard simplex problem. So this is 5.3. We're out of general simplex. Now we're into standard simplex. So now we're going to go ahead and look for the largest negative number in the bottom row, 45, negative 45. or the most negative, however you want to look at it, largest negative, most negative. And now, here we go. Do our ratio test in that column. We're going to pivot here. So 105 divided by 7, 15 divided by -1, or 75 divided by 1. There's our winner. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, because if you got through 5.3, this is just repeating what you already know how to do. And you're not ready to go on to 5.4 until you get through 5.3. So simplex method, standard simplex, you're going to just now do your row operators until you get rid of all your negative numbers in the bottom row. Then read your answer, and you'll be done. Hope that helped.